Hello, welcome to Chef Richard Kitchen. I'm Chef Richard Miller. Today I want to step back a few years and we're going back to some of my childhood memories and some that came even later than that. I kind of did that when I investigated the history of the actual and original Reuben sandwich from Bernie Schimmel. And I'm going to do the same thing today because one of the things I remember, my dad worked for a company that had its headquarters in San Francisco. And so quite often, when my brother and I were young, we'd take and go out to San Francisco while he was having his meetings. That left mom to basically ride herd over us kids, which probably was a Herculean job in itself. And we'd go to some places, and often we went down to Chinatown or Fisherman's Wharf, or up on the Cannery or Ghirardelli. And one of my favorite memories of that was on Fisherman's Wharf, and that was their Crab Louie. And I've heard it spelled Louie and Louis. And according to most of the historical publications, it's Louie. Somebody said that it was Louis with an S referenced King Louis the 14th, I believe's, ravenous appetite. Well, most of it's been debunked in there. So anyway, where did it originally come from? Well, it probably would come from one of the coasts, because that's where saltwater crab comes from. There was one, I believe it was Kansas, someone in there said they originated it, and I kind of debunked that. But there's kind of a battle back and forth, or at least there was, between Washington and San Francisco. And Washington has a variation of it, and I've had it as I've gone up through California, Oregon, and Washington. I've had, both the sourdough bread and the Crab Louie up in there. And it just wasn't quite as good as what I found down in Fisherman's Wharf down in San Francisco. So I started looking around to see what I could find, and the earliest reference to that came in a cookbook, and it was from the St. Francis Hotel. And the chef Victor Hertzler back there published that cookbook in 1919. And in an interview that was done, he mentioned first serving it in 1910 at the St. Francis Hotel, which, by the way, still stands. It's now the Westin St. Francis. But anyway, that in 1910, that predates the rest of them by about 3 to 4 years. So I'm going to take that as pretty much the original. So I went out and I found a copy. Now, his original cookbook was green. This is a reprint of it, and it's accurate, but I'm not ashamed in the least to say it's a reprint, because a signed original is quite expensive. So this will do fine. Anyway, I went through here and I found his recipes, and I want to read them to you. And it's a typical chef's cookbook, because chefs are known for just a pinch of this, a little bit of that, a handful of this, whatever. So it doesn't have very good measurements in there, and let me go ahead and read it. The Crab Louie salad is actually on page 128, and here's his recipe. Arrange lettuce leaves around the inside of a salad bowl with a few sliced leaves on the bottom. Put crab meat on top of the sliced leaves and a few sliced hard-boiled eggs and sliced chives on top of the crab meat. In another bowl, mix a half cup of French dressing with half cup chili sauce, spoonfuls of mayonnaise, salt, pepper, and Worcestershire sauce. Pour over the salad and serve cold. Okay? Now, French dressing back then wasn't necessarily the French dressing that we get in a grocery store. All right? So I'd hoped that he also gave his recipe for French dressing, and on page 320 it seems like he did. And for the French dressing for the salad, to 1/3 of white wine vinegar, use 2/3 olive oil mixed with salt, pepper, powdered mustard, dash of Worcestershire sauce, and a little paprika. All right, so this is the French dressing that Chef Zertzler, supposedly used for it. We're going to go ahead and we're going to make that today, and then take a half a cup of that French dressing, and then we're going to make Louis dressing out of that, and then we're going to go ahead and plate it. Now, there's a couple of things in there that I remember, and of course this was long after Chef Hertzler's days. So there obviously been some changes made to it since then. And part of it was it didn't have quite the snap that I remembered. So I'm going to add a little bit of lemon juice to it. And it also had some little chunks in there that were actually chopped egg, kind of like a Thousand Island. And I'm going to put those in there. Other than that, the only thing what I did was I played around with it. I made it a couple times. And this is the recipe using his ingredients, that kind of best matched what I remember from there. Now, we see it all the time. We can go out and see Crab Louie, you can go out to the web and find it anywhere. But you'll find it used with spinach leaves and asparagus and, all sorts of stuff in there that I sure don't remember from when I was a kid. It was also more of a bottled Thousand Island dressing, and that wasn't what I remembered. So that's what prompted me to go back and see what I could do from the original. So here we go. The first thing we want to do, and going from Chef Hertzler's recipe, is we want to take 1/3 of white wine vinegar, and now he said 1/3 vinegar to 2/3 olive oil, and so what I did was I just went ahead and I assumed that was a cup. So I used 1/3 of a cup of white wine vinegar and 1/3 of a cup of olive oil. All right, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to whisk this in, and it will emulsify here in a bit. All right, now I'm going to put in a little bit of pepper, probably about 1/4 teaspoon of it, probably about 1/8 to 1/4 teaspoon of paprika. This is sweet paprika. Probably 1/4 teaspoon of mustard powder, and probably 1/2 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce. All right. I'm going to put in a little pepper, or I'm sorry, not pepper, salt in there as well. And we're going to whisk this all together. All right. It's a good base. It's not Crab Louie, but it is a good base. And I'm going to put this under the detail camera because that's not exactly what you call French dressing. nowadays. It was more of a French dressing around the turn of the 20th century. So anyway, now that we have this, now it comes time, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make our Louis dressing. And for that, it's half cup of the French dressing with half cup of chili sauce, 2 spoonfuls of mayonnaise, and I added a little bit extra mayonnaise. But I'm also using Hellmann's because if you go back to most of the recipes of that day, they usually specified Hellmann's. Bernie Schimmel did with his Reuben. He says either make your own mayonnaise or Hellmann's with an extra egg yolk in there would be acceptable. So most of them use that. So that's what I'm using here. Salt, pepper, and Worcestershire sauce. So let's go ahead and I'm going to put a cup of our dressing. Did I say a cup? I meant a half cup. Half cup of chili powder. And once again, I said chili powder, I meant chili sauce. So I'm going to put the corrections in there so you don't have to worry about it. All right. Now, I want to take and I want to put a good teaspoon of lemon juice. A good teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce. And I'm going to put in, this is a little more than two spoons. It's probably about 4 tablespoons or something like that. But I'm going to put that in there. All right. And now let's go ahead and whisk this together. All right. It's very good. It's very good, but it needs a little salt and pepper. Delicious. This is what I remember from when we went down to Fisherman's Wharf. You can taste the ingredients in it. You can taste the chili sauce. You can taste a little of the Worcestershire. The lemon brightens it up and gives it an acidic flavor that it really, really needs. You can taste the white wine vinegar in there. You know, to me, it's just absolutely delicious. So now, here's the touch I'm going to add. And I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to put a chopped egg in there. here's our dressing. Now what we have to do is we're going to have to go ahead and we're going to get out our lettuce and we're going to get out our crab and we're going to plate. So let me get this cleaned up here and I'll be right back. Don't go away. This is good stuff. You don't want to miss it. All right, I've got everything cleaned up, so let's go ahead and let's plate. What I've done is I went ahead and I crisped my lettuce earlier so that it's nice and crisp right now. And the way I always did that is just take the center, the stem out of the bottom of it, put a damp paper towel in there, put it in a bowl and put plastic wrap over it. That usually crisps it up, overnight. And that's what I did here. So what we're going to do first is we're just going to go ahead and we're going to put a leaf of lettuce down here. All right, now we're going to put some crab meat, or wait a minute, I'm sorry. God, where's my head? After that, we have to put lettuce. All right, now, iceberg lettuce was the lettuce that was used back then. They didn't use a lot of fancier lettuces and leaves that we use today. It was just basically iceberg lettuce. So that's what we're going to use here. All right. Okay. I'm going to put about 6 ounces of claw meat on here. And if you go back and look at most of the recipes of the time, they use lump crab meat, and that's fine, but lump crab meat is pretty expensive. And so here's what I have for an alternative for that. What I did was I went and I got claw meat, which is probably a third or a fourth of the price of lump crab meat. And then I went ahead and I picked up a couple of halves of Dungeness crab. And what I did was I just went ahead and I took and pulled some of it out. And let's go ahead and let's use this. Go ahead and use this for our lump crab meat. Now Chef Zerxler would never forgive me if I didn't put some sliced hard-boiled eggs in here as well. Now, let's go ahead and let's put our Louie dressing on here. Now, you may want to take and squeeze just a little bit of lemon on here. I'm not, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put a couple of lemon slices or wedges here. And if my guest wants to go ahead and do that, it's fine. If you want to take and put a little parsley on here, that's good. Here's just something I just put on for just the heck of it. And what I did was I took part of the claw from that Dungeness crab that I had and just took and put the claw on there. So here we are. Here's Crab Louie. Put this under the detail camera so you can see it real well. That's what I always remember going out to San Francisco. I just absolutely loved going out there just simply because I could have it. In fact, when I went out there in the late 1990s, I was going out there for some training classes. When I went out, I actually wanted to see if anybody had it. And Tarantino's, which was a seafood restaurant down Fisherman's Wharf, did. It was similar, but not quite to what I remember. But it was very close. Now Alioto's, Tarantino's, and Grotto 9, all those in Fisherman's Wharf are now closed, which is sad. But we do have Chef Zertzler's recipe here that we can always go back to, at least for Crab Louie. Now, last thing. That is delicious. The only thing I might do different is I might just put a little more dressing on there. Other than that, I just give it an A+. So, once again, thank you, Chef Victor Hertzler, and I dedicate this video to him and the St. Francis Hotel. And once again, I hope you give this a try. Please do. It's delicious. You'll love it. And I've even given you a little bit on how to make it look, like an expensive version without breaking the bank on that. So give it a try. Let me know how you do, how you come out. This is one I'd really like to hear from you from. Let me know how you do. Once again, though, give me a thumbs up if you like it. For heaven's sakes, hit the subscribe on here. I love it when people subscribe, and if you have any friends that like to cook, encourage them to as well. So, anyway, take care. God bless. Remember, cooking should always be fun. And doing something like this, it always is. We'll see you next episode. Bye for now.